hope I don't have chocolate cake on my face. So everybody, this is Lisa with Quilting in the Valley, and we are going to do a quick rundown on all of the parts and stuff that come with your brand new sewing machine, your Bernina sewing machine. This is for people who primarily have the jumbo hook, the large hook, jumbo bobbins. So this is most of what I'm going to talk about is going to pertain to the touchscreen models and the jumbo bobbins. So here we go. So what I have in front of me is a Tula Pink 570 machine. In case you're interested, you've got 8.5 inches of throat space. It's a nice machine. Comes with embroidery. Anyway, some of the things that you should have gotten with your sewing machine, you're going to have gotten a slide-on table. This little button right here is how you release that table. So it just snaps on like that. If you want to take it off, you push in on this button and slide off. All right, so we'll take that off for right now. Some of the other things that you got are your stitch regulator, your Bernina stitch regulator. This is patented to Bernina. This is a really cool deal. We're not going to talk about it, but you've got it. You also got this little guy. This little guy is a snap-on seam guide. Again, you depress on this thing. So I'll slide it onto my table where I want it. It snaps on. I can move it. So like if I'm doing a drapery hem or whatever, I can put this where it needs to be. To take it off, I depress on that and just slide it off. Okay. You also got what we like to affectionately refer to as a Barbie box. So this is your storage box. This is your buttonhole foot. Automatic buttonhole foot, which is actually pretty snazzy. Here is where your bobbins go. You'll notice that on that little bobbin holder there's a little depression on the left side. And if you look at your bobbin, one side of it is slightly bigger around than the other side. So the slightly bigger around side is the one that you want to put into that little depression. You just pop it in, and then to get it out, pull down like that.
So the silver side goes to the right.
Silver to the right. Okay. You got a number 97 foot. On the back of all of your feet, you're going to have a screw. It comes inserted in the foot. I'm just going to save you a lot of heartache right now. Take off the screws. We put them right down there in that drawer. Take off the screws. Because the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to be sewing along, happy as a clam, and a screw is going to fall out, and you're going to freak out and think that you broke your sewing machine. So we just take those screws off. Vibration over time as you're sewing, you know, you vibrate and the foot goes up and down and all that. Those screws will just fall off. So these are your regular feet. This is a 97. That's a 2A. That's a rolled hem foot that comes with this particular model. Each model comes with different feet. This is a D foot. You know it's a D foot by that little house outline right there. So where it makes the house. In the back of your machine, you have a dual feed built in. The dual feed, you just reach your hand up like this, come right straight down.
You want me to go to the back?
Now you're right. You just pull right straight down. To release the dual feed, to get it back up, you pull straight down and back. So just pull down and back. But that dual feed, let's see if I had the regular foot on, that dual feed would come down and it would hit that foot. I can't use it. The D foot, I put that on, and the dual feed just slides right in there, real snug. That's how that works. Again, just down and back. All right, let's see what other kind of feet we got. So you got that D foot, you got, this one is a zipper foot, a D foot. And then this is a 20C. So it's open here and it has a depression underneath so those stitches can go underneath there. That's for your decorative stitches. Okay? So that's all fun stuff you got. Let's see what else you got in here. You have...
What does the C mean, Lisa?
C means it's a sensor foot. So that means your machine will recognize it. The ones without a letter on them, your machine is not going to recognize it. It's not even going to know there's a foot on there, but it'll work, but it won't know if it's on there. You have two of these little foam guys. These make a difference to your tension. So these are going to be right here. You're going to seat your thread right onto that. This is a spool of Aurifil, and I am using the little spool cap with Aurifil. You get 3 spool caps. But this little Aurifil spool cap, or little spool cap, will fit right up inside the Aurifil, and you don't have anything for your thread to catch on when that happens. If you have bigger spools, you can use these bigger spool caps. You want them like this. If you're going to use it, you want the smooth part towards your thread so that your thread doesn't snag or break. Smooth part towards your thread.
What thread would you want on a vertical pin?
Wow, fancy you asked. Okay, so Aurifil thread is cross-wound thread. So you can see it goes like this. Cross-wound thread is designed to come off of the spool horizontally, like that. All right, so cross-wound thread, Gutermann, Aurifil, Mettler, is all going to come off of this horizontal spool thread pin. If you've got, say, a Coates and Clark's, oh, open up, you little, there. If you've got a Coates and Clark's, it's straight wound, which means it's just literally straight back and forth. It would come off better on this spool pin. So this particular spool pin on the 5 series just pushes back down when you're not using it. If you have a 7 series, it's gonna flip up from the back. It'll be back here and you just flip it up. All right. You also got some needles. They're universal needles. They say Bernina on them. Bernina did not make these. Bernina had somebody else make them, and they slapped a Bernina name on them. So you can use any kind of needles you want to. You got an extra foot holder. You got a little orange screwdriver. This is your USB stick with the embroidery designs. Here's your hump jumper. So if you're going over seams and you're worried about climbing the hump and coming back down over it, you're going to use this hump jumper under the back of your foot as you're climbing the hump. So as your foot comes in and it goes like this and it's starting to climb, you'll put this under the back of the foot to level it out. When you get over and your foot starts to go like that, you'll move it to the front again to level out your foot. That's what this is for. And you get your stylus. This is your touchscreen stylus. You just use that. You can use your finger too. You get your little seam ripper. And all of that should fit right in your little box. The most important thing that you find in that little box is the oil. So for the 4, 5, 7, and 8 series machines, this is not the same as regular sewing machine oil. This is a very fine oil, and it is meant to be used on these jumbo hooks. So the next thing I'm going to show you is, we'll get to the hook in a minute, and I'll show you how to oil them. But the next thing I'm going to show you is how do you put a foot on. So on a Bernina, you have like a cone-shaped hole in the top of the solid shank of the foot. There's then a little cone right underneath here where my finger is. See right there? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to slide this foot onto that cone. Then there's a small lever right here that my finger is on.
There we go.
There you go. That small lever. So I slide it back to take the foot off. To put it on, I slide it forward. Make sure you firmly seated your foot before you start sewing. Okay? How do you take a throat plate off? There's a little circular thing right there. Push and flip it up. And there you go. Very, very easy. Here's your bobbin door. That's your bobbin sensor. Number one troubleshooting with the bobbin monitor going off. If your bobbin door is open, your bobbin sensor is pointing straight up in the air and it thinks you have an empty bobbin. So first thing to check, make sure your bobbin door is closed. All right. This is your bobbin case. This little guy is what holds all that in there. To take your bobbin case out, there is a small metal bar right there. I push on that and out pops my bobbin. There it is. Now I'm going to show you the hook. This little guy right here, this little silver wedge right here, if I push on that, this ring falls out. I can reach right in and I will pull out the hook. This is the hook for my machine. This little pointy thing right here, this is what comes around, catches the top thread and pulls it around the bobbin thread and makes your stitch. This little hook right here. Okay, right down inside the hook, there's a felt pad that runs the whole width of the hook. So those white fuzzy looking things in there, that's not lint, that's a felt pad. The point of having that felt pad in there is for you to oil those two places, and then when you're sewing, this goes around in circles. Centrifugal force is going to make that oil go out and into this metal raceway, which is where your hook seats. So it rotates around in this metal part. So you see the back of this? Metal. You see that? Metal. So when you're sewing a lot and your machine gets warm and your metal gets dry, what's going to happen? Thread breaks, loud noises, thunk, 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 not good stitch quality. So you have got to keep this oiled. It is critical that you keep this oiled. If you don't keep this oiled, it is similar to having a Porsche and never changing the oil for 100,000 miles. You just don't do that. Not if you want that machine to perform. So we're gonna take this bottle of oil and I'm gonna go right here into the race, drop right there, and then I'm gonna go right into this hook and I'm gonna go drop right there and a drop right there.
And that's a good size drop, isn't it, Lisa?
Yes, yeah, I'm not just, the oil is really cheap. It's really cheap. If you get a little too much oil in there, just mop it up. It's not gonna hurt it. It will hurt it to not have enough oil. Okay, everybody struggles putting the hook back in. Everybody does. If you look down inside here, you will see that there's two little metal levers. And I'm gonna there we go. There we go. Okay, so you want to make sure that your levers are in about 10 and 4 o'clock. About 10 and 4 o'clock is where you want your hook to go. If you look on the back of your hook, you have these two indentations. Those are going to seat on those two levers. So I want the hook up. I want my little metal levers at 10 and 4. This is slightly too big to go in straight, so that won't go in like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the bottom of it in first, then flip it up in there, and you're just going to finagle it until it just snaps right in. There's a little magnet inside there. Once you get everything lined up, it'll just snap it right in. Then you're going to take this and snap it shut. That's all there is to it. Then you're good to go. Now, let's talk about threading your bobbin. You can't put your bobbin in the wrong way in one of these machines. It's always going to go in the right way. I'm going to take my bobbin thread and I'm going to pull it through that little slot, around, underneath. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. Underneath that, and I'm going to snap it up into that little ring. Then I'm going to take my bobbin, and I'm going to put it in here like this. Remember how when we took it out, that was horizontal? We want to make sure that's horizontal with the loop up. I'm going to put it like that, and then I'm going to cut the thread, and I'm going to close the bobbin door because I'm ready to sew. Okay, that makes sense? Hope, hope. Now let's talk about winding a bobbin. This is your bobbin winder. Here's another hint for you. My machine is making this terrible noise. What is on the screen? Oh my goodness, it is broken. No. Turn off your bobbin winder. That happens to everybody. It happens to everybody. It's going to happen to you, and you're going to be like, what is it doing? Turn off your bobbin winder. Here's where your bobbin goes. It only goes on one way. It won't go on the other way. It only goes on one way. So fully seated, the little white thing there is coming out. I have my thread already loaded. I'm going to come here, right back in the back, there's like a little hook. You can feel it. Put your finger down there. You can feel that hook. Bring your thread down over that hook. There's a dotted line right there. It says number 1. Number 2 dotted line is right here. So I go to 1, and now I'm going to go to 2, and I'm going to follow the direction of the dotted line. Follow it around, and lo and behold, here's number 3 over here. So I'm going to go around 1, 2, 3. Whoops, 3. I'm trying to keep my hand out of your camera. And then I'm going to come to this little thread cutter right there, cut my thread off, and where is this from? Oh, and wind. Your bobbin winder, if you have everything threaded properly, if you're not in this tension, it won't wind evenly over here. So you have to be in this tension for it to wind evenly. So that's how we wind it. You can turn it off if you don't want a full bobbin. Pull your bobbin off of the spindle and cut the thread. Very easy. All right, now how are we going to thread the machine for sewing? So our thread is on here. Now we're going to use the solid line. So here's the solid number 1. Come down that hook. Here's the solid number 2. We're going to come down. There's a solid number 3 is right down there. We're going to come up. Solid number 4 shows you making a U-turn, so you're going to go in between this little black, whatever that is. So you see the little silver lever sticking out, and then there's a black on either side of it. Go on the right-hand side all the way back, and then come on the left-hand side all the way forward.
You can hear a little snap.
Yes. Come down. Here's number 5. We're going to go behind this little pin, and then you're going to go on this model behind this little guy. If you have a 7 series, there's going to be a little pin right here, and you would come through it from the right-hand side. To thread your machine up in here, you want to make absolutely positive that your foot is up. You don't ever thread your sewing machine with the foot down. It doesn't matter what model it is, you always thread it with the foot up. That pulls the tension discs, which are actually down in here, it opens them, and then your thread will sit inside of it. When your foot goes down, they close, and they connect to your thread and pull your thread right and get the right tension on your thread. So, always thread foot up. When you thread your needle, you're going to thread foot down. This machine is automated, so it's going to lower the foot for me. So I'm going to take my threader, and I'm going to put it most of the way down. I'm going to come around that loop right there. I'm going to come right in front of the eye of the needle, and if you look to the right-hand side of that needle threader, right there, there's a little V. I have my thread in that little V. I'm going to hold really lightly with my right hand. I'm going to depress all the way. Oops. I'm going to depress all the way with my left hand. Well, come on. There we go. And you can kind of see it happen. The hook comes through the eye of the needle and pulls that thread to the back. Then you reach back here and you just pull it through. I'm going to do it again. Down, around the little post, across the eye of the needle, in that little V off to the side, depress, I let go of it, sorry. Depress and let the needle threader pull that thread through. Then you just pull that thread through from the back, just like that. Okay, you have a thread cutter on the side, so you can bring that thread up the side and just cut like that, and then you're ready to start stitching. Okay, that should get you all started. We've got it threaded, we've done a bobbin, we've oiled it. That should get you started on the basics. I want to talk about just a couple more things. There's another little thread guide up here. This little thread guide is if you are threading from like the multi-thread stand, which can attach to the back, or if you're threading from, if you've got one of those big cones and it comes up through one of those thread stands, you're gonna put it through this first, then to here. That's what this guy is for. Your touch screen, the other thing that you want to be familiar with is your touch screen, and I'm just real quickly gonna go through what's on the screen. That is your automated tension. It's white. That means it's at default. If I were to alter this, which I can do, I can just touch that, and I can alter it right here. Anything I change, it's gonna turn yellow. If I don't want it to be changed, I can hit clear, and it goes back to default. This is the foot. This shows you all the different feet. Some of the models, you have to select the foot you have on. Like the 7 and the 8 series, if you don't select the foot you have on, it won't let you sew. This is your presser foot pressure. You can alter your presser foot pressure. That's how hard your presser foot sits down on your fabric. If you're using, say, Minky, you wouldn't want that much pressure. You can go in and alter that to make it, you know, squish less. Here is where you select your 9mm plate or your single millimeter, your 0mm plate. Your 0mm, if I choose this, okay, that's for straight stitching, for piecing or whatever, and it changes to 0. If I clear out of there and I go to do a zigzag, look what happens. It won't let me. I can't do a zigzag. So I have to go back here, turn it back to 9mm, and then poof, there you go. Okay, this is your feed dog indicator. Your feed dogs are to the side, right here. So you want to put your feed dogs down, you just push that button all the way in. When I push that button and it stayed in, now my feed dog just turned yellow. That means it's down. Now I'm going to push that button and let it out. That means my feed dogs are up. They're not going to actually move until I start sewing. So you can't tell the difference if they're up or down. This is what tells you. And this is my bobbin monitor. So it will tell me if I'm getting low on bobbin. It looks good now. We're good. Here is my stitch length. Here is my stitch width. I can alter either of those using my buttons or on the screen. This is my needle stop down. So I can make my needle stop down by simply pushing on this button, or if I don't want it to, I push up. I usually leave mine down. This is your speed control. I'm usually about right there. This is to put your needle down one time. This one is for it to stop down all the time. This is if you just want it to go down once. Okay? On the throat here, we've got your power button, so you can sew without your foot pedal by just holding this in until it starts sewing, then you release it, and it'll just keep sewing until you touch it again. This is your manual foot up down button. This is your manual thread cutting button, and this is your reversing button. These over here are your multifunction knobs. Right now, this one controls stitch width, this one controls stitch length, and this is your needle position button. You have 11 needle positions, 5 to the left of the needle, center, and 5 to the right of the needle. Your stitch selection is all in this side. So if I want a decorative stitch, these are all folders, and each of these folders is full of lots of different decorative stitches, so I can choose any of those from my decorative stitch folder. This right up here is called breadcrumbs. I can just go back one breadcrumb if I want to, go back to my folders. Same thing with your alphabets. Your buttonholes are all in there. You've got a button sew on, you've got an eyelet and a reinforcing. These are your quilting stitches. These are some nice stitches you have in here. So if you notice what happens when I touch on 1301, it changed the tension. The tension is now set to work with fine cottons. See how it changes your tension? That's for piecing. That's a good place to be for piecing. You'll have much better seam tension. There's your buttonhole stitches. That's a single buttonhole. This is a beautiful stitch right here. This is a double buttonhole stitch, 1310 on this machine. It's 1329 on the 7 series. It's a nice stitch. And then this down here is favorites. When you put together all kinds of different stitch combinations, which you'll get to in future lessons. You can save them in there and go back and always pull them out and be able to have them available for use another time. One more thing I should point out about this stitch right here, 1301. So this is just a regular piecing stitch. See how there's tiny little stitches to start with? It is stay stitching the beginning of your seam so your seams don't pull apart. It's kind of a nice deal. Okay, I think that is enough to cover in this particular little video. We just wanted to get some down and dirty info out for you to get you started with your machines. Because right now, if you've got a new sewing machine, you've not been able to get into mastery class and you want to sew with this. So things to remember: oil your machine. I can't say that enough. Oil your machine. Oil it every 8 hours of sewing. If you haven't sewn for 3 days and you come to sit down to your sewing machine, it doesn't matter if you sewed 8 hours or not. Oil it before you start. You will save yourself a world of hurt and heartbreak if you oil your machine more than you think you should. Oil it regularly and it will be a happy, happy baby, and it will do beautiful stitching for you, and it will last for a very long time, and you will enjoy using it. If you do not oil it, it's going to gum up on you, it's going to get bird's nests, it's going to do skip stitches, and it's going to sound loud. You're going to be like, what is wrong with this machine? It needs attention and love. Oil your machine, please. You will save yourself so much heartache. Oil your machine. And just practice putting your hoop back in and out. Practice using your needle threader. It works like a charm once you get the handle of it. Just practice. Practice makes perfect. These are wonderful sewing machines. They will last you a very long time. They will make beautiful projects and art with you. Oil them, take care of them, take them in for their annual servicing, and enjoy using them. They do wonderful work. Okay?
If they have any questions, what site can they go to?
They can go to Quilting in the Valley at YouTube. We have all kinds. We have a troubleshooting video. We have a maintenance video. We have all kinds of stuff going on. So they can go there, or they can call us. That too. All right. Thank you, everybody. I hope this helps a little bit getting you started with your new sewing machine.